Deport all undocumented immigrants. Voters favoring the government trying to deport all 11 million of them. Back in 2016, just 38% of voters wanted the government to try to deport all 11 million undocumented immigrants. Compared to where we are in 2025, 56%, the majority. The American people have come a long way on this issue, much closer to Donald Trump. And I think that's a big part of the reason why Americans are increasingly saying the country is on the right track when it comes to immigration policy, and why Donald Trump's net approval rating on that issue is in the positive.
Okay, just remember this, because the left and the Democrats are doing a full court press trying to make deporting all illegals unpopular. That's what they're hoping. But it's overwhelmingly popular. 56% of all Americans, that cuts so deep into Democrat territory. They're losing on this issue. They're trying to make it a winning issue by using their media, their courts, all their shenanigans they normally do, but they're not into the rule of law. They never believed in the rule of law. And now that Trump is trying to deport, he wants to deport all illegals, he and Tom Homan, they're finding the most difficult case. They're going to drag their feet on the most difficult case. A gang member, violent criminals, they're starting the battle on that because they intend to fight every single deportation that Trump attempts. We're going to get into that whole strategy. This is about that kind of the mental idea that Democrats do not believe in a rule of law. Welcome to the Doug TenNapel channel. This is where the happy patriots are. Number one, tell me in the chat below, do you believe in deporting all illegals? Just put deport them in the chat below if you believe that. That's my first question I have for all of you. Now, here's an interesting Twitter post. This is from, this is Amy Therese. This is going to start our discussion. This Amy Therese, this is, says Democrats don't believe in due process because they're saying like Trump is not giving due process to these illegals. And she's just calling them out. Democrats don't believe in due process. That's why they imported 20 million illegals between 2020 and 2024 without any Democratic mandate to do so, while they forced Americans to take untested medicine injections lest they be fired without due process. So are they the party of due process or not? Or is this just politics? Ladies and gentlemen, this is, of course, just politics. Of course, they don't believe in due process. They deliberately brought that minimum 13 million illegals. She said 20 million, minimum 13 million illegals with the purpose of overwhelming our court system. That is, they knew they would not be processed in. That's why they flooded them all. And they looked at you with a straight face going like, what did we do? Yeah, you deliberately know that there will never be a court case. All those getaways, the ones that said they would appear in court and then they were released into the public, they were released on our side of the border, not released back into Mexico. No, they were processed. They were given a court date that we know they will never appear for. And you can't have 11 million court cases. So they overwhelm the system. My proposal is a strategy to the Trump administration. Write this down, Trump administration. I'm dead dog serious on this one. If they overwhelm the court system bringing aliens in, then you have to overwhelm the court system deporting them. That is, ask for permission later. Start mass deportations, and then when they try and launch all their lawsuits to bring them back, you go, yeah, we'll get to that in the courts. You know, how about start 11 million court cases over the ones that you deport because it's so popular? Let's keep going. That's a good strategy. I think it'll work. Now, this is an interesting clip just because I haven't heard from, this is an illegal, a lady who lost her illegal boyfriend because he got deported.
I'm making this video to document, to share with you guys the ups and the downs of being someone that is not from the United States of America. This fucking sucks, dude. So, my boyfriend got arrested about 2.5 years ago.
She looks pretty well acclimated, though. She's got her nose pierced. She's got her lip ring. That's how you know she's a Democrat.
And he got sent to the immigration jail because he's not from here, obviously.
He's not from here, obviously. Okay, that's your first problem. But I don't, you know, her tears are real. That's real tragedy. Who caused those tears? The ones who deported your boyfriend or the ones who let both of you in, an illegal like him in? By the way, this happened. This boyfriend got deported under Joe Biden. This was 2.5 years ago. So I just want to show you guys some tears caused by this is Democrat immigration policy who deported your boyfriend. So both sides are going to cause those kinds of tears. Families broken up, love broken up. I don't get why Joe Biden was considered the most loving man in the world, even though he deported your boyfriend and Trump is suddenly Hitler. Now, on that illegal that the Dems are trying to keep in, and I'm talking about all of media, all of CNN, Caitlin Collins, they're all trying to keep these illegals here. Well, look at this. This is the District Court of Maryland for Prince George's County. Caroline Levitt just had a special press briefing. She announced Kilmar. The guy's name is Kilmar. Kilmar Abrego Garcia had physically, why not just call him Kilmore? Kilmar Abrego Garcia had physically abused his wife. This is who the Democrats are trying to get back into the, they're supposed to be pro feminism, always believe women. Women are always right. Defend the abused. She's a victim. He had a restraining order for physically abusing his wife to the extent that she needed a restraining order. In addition, he was wearing MS-13 symbolism and with two well-known MS-13 members at the time of his arrest. The guy's a monster, not a Maryland dad. The media keeps calling him Maryland dad, not gang member, not gang member. And remember, his tears are real too. He's going to be separated from his children, This is not about whoever cries the most and has the biggest sob story wins. They're all going to be, on a human level, very upset. But who started it? The first thing every illegal alien does is break the law when they get here. I don't want to remove my compassion for them. I feel very bad for them. But you got to go. Okay, here's Trump on the subject of the Democrats. Can you believe it? A judge ruled against us on 530,000 illegal migrants that Joe Biden flew over the southern border in his program to transport illegals into the country by airplane, saying that they can't be looked at as a group, but that each case has to be tried individually. That's 530,000 cases. Based on the court system, that could take approximately 100 years. I saw a guy calculate it out on the average court case. It will actually take more like 300 years. That is, in the year 2300, we can process all those through our courts. What is going on with our courts? They are totally out of control. They seem to hate Trump so much that anything goes. We're trying to bring our country back from the destruction caused by the Democrats and crooked Joe Biden. I went on a policy of common sense. And what common sense do we have when we have 530,000 trials? This radicalized judge is saying that sleepy Joe Biden can break the law, ignore the law and due process, and fly in more than 500,000 illegals into America in one day. But we have to hold many years of long and tedious trials to fly each and every one of them back home. Where's the justice here? That really is key. Remember, when the law doesn't exist under Biden. They're like, what rule of law? Let them all in. They all break the laws. And then Trump gets in office. And both the left say we're pro rule of law and we have due process, and so does the right. All the constitutional conservatives come back in and say, Trump, you can't break the law and deport all these people en masse in disobeying the courts. You have to observe the process. We are a system of rules and laws. We're Constitution. People have rights. The Constitution cannot work. The rule of law is not a rule of law if it only applies to Trump, if it doesn't apply to Joe Biden. So what do you do when that mass amount of laws overwhelm our system and the Democrats win because they don't believe in the rule of law? They don't believe in the Constitution. They're forcing us to break the law and ignore them. And frankly, I'm ready to do so. Because I don't believe in just, in the last 4 years watching Biden open the borders with Mayorkas, and they stone cold straight face said, what we do? We didn't do anything. The borders are secure and we have cameras of millions of people walking over. They broke the law. And this is a populist answer Guys, this is why Trump is not conservative and not a constitutionalist, because you have to go, you know what? The Constitution is a joke if only one side follows it. The populist answer is, and that's what he's saying in this tweet, forget the courts, deport those 530,000 people. And I agree. That's the spirit of the law in deep down inside of truth. The spirit of the law demands that, even if it breaks your own system that can't handle all of that. See what I mean? There are times when a good system can be overwhelmed and used to do bad, illegal things. And that's what you have. So that's the strategy I'm only saying is Trump has to overwhelm the system by deporting the same amount of illegals that came in. If it got overwhelmed by them coming in, Trump should be able to overwhelm them going out. Here's Jesse Waters with a great quote that I thought I'd share with you, and Josh Hawley on the guy in the upper right there. Let's get him up there. That guy in the upper right is the congressman that wanted that is trying to go to El Salvador to bring the illegal back, and he was denied a visit. And that's the illegal down in the lower right that is the big controversy. He's a MS-13 gang member, and the media, CNN, keeps calling him a Maryland dad.
Senator, this was put out by defense attorneys who represent known gang members. Known gang members and traffickers are representing this Garcia guy, and they ceded it to the press, and the Democrats ate it up, and now they just walked into this big, ugly trap. Do they see that?
No, I don't think they do see it, Jesse. And the reason is they have such contempt for this country and such contempt for the rule of law that they would rather go spend their time in maximum security prisons with criminal illegals and cry over the process rights of criminal illegals rather than meeting with Americans who have lost their children to these illegals, rather than meeting with workers who are losing their jobs to these illegals. I mean, you talk about misplaced priorities, Jesse. They've got it completely wrong. It's America last, as always, with this crowd. And then they wonder why voters look at them and are like, whoa, this is nuts. They are nuts. They are totally nuts.
I'm going to leave on that. They are totally nuts. Remember, just to get the story straight, that's the illegal alien on the right, and his lawyer and senators are flying to El Salvador to visit the poor guy in prison. Of course, they're all funded by George Soros, USA, the normal corrupt NGOs, non-government organizations that claim to be compassionate. While mommies have their babies slaughtered by these people in America, good men and women have their jobs taken by them. It is America operating a giant illegal economy. And the end game is the Democrats want these illegals to get the vote. They're going to give them a social security number when they work. They're going to order a mail-in ballot, and then they vote. And that's the Democrats' only chance to get this incredibly unpopular opinion, getting them back in office. This is about elections. This has to be reversed. Trump, we have one chance to do it, and that's Donald Trump. Guys, if Donald Trump fails, it's over. This country is going to be destroyed, no longer a rule of law. What do you think? Will Trump win? Will he get these illegals deported? He only has a couple years. I'm Doug in exile. Tell me what you think.